Didn't get put on. Well, welcome back for our last chapter. And the reason why I put this up in different episodes is just because I think it's nice to break up things so you can kind of get bite-sized things and come back to them. But we can do another type of analysis as well. Um, okay, here we go. So 91. They admitted, by Allah, Allah has truly preferred you over us, and we truly, and we have surely been sinful, and we have surely been sinful. Joseph said, there is no blame on you today. May Allah forgive you. He is the most merciful on the merciful. Go with this shirt. Remember what shirt is? Idhabu bi qamisi. Oh, sorry. One sec. So sorry. Okay. Go with this shirt of mine, and cast it over my father's face, and he will regain his sight. Then come back to me with your whole family. So that's interesting. Not sure we saw that Jacob was blind or in the Bible. We saw that Isaac was blind with Jacob. So that's an interesting kind of narrative that's taking place here. Now, if you were a skeptic, you might have a certain kind of analysis, but I think we should be open to different perspectives on this. But yeah, I think that's interesting that it's saying that he's blind here. But it says, "Idhabu bi qamisi hadha fa'al ku." Oh, sorry, I should put this here. Hadha um, fa'alkuhu ala wajhi. Wajhi is a face. Wajhi, abi, that's father. Yati, um, basiran. Yeah, basir is like sight. Uh, watuni, uh, bi ahlikum, um, ajma'in, all together. Ajma'in, jama'a. That's coming together. So yes, come together as a whole family, all together. See what I talked about, like how it's not exactly precise. Ajma'in doesn't necessarily mean, it doesn't say whole family, but that's kind of the context of what's being stated. That's kind of how Arabic works and how Hebrew works and how these like ancient languages work. They communicate it in a different way. It's not that it's inferior; it's just different. That's kind of how I look at things. I don't look at things with a hierarchical kind of standard. So, the person knows who was calling me. um, and it says, when the caravan departed from Egypt, their father said to those around him, you may think I am senile, but I certainly sense the smell of Joseph. They replied, by Allah, you are definitely still in your old delusion. So we have here al-qadim, al-qadim, and then it says dolalika. That dolal, it's like you see that too in Surah Al-Fatiha. Well, dalin, you're kind of astray, you're wrong. So you see, it doesn't actually say delusion. This is the interpretation of the translator. It says you're in your error and old. Like that's how it. You kind of need to understand the context of the words that are being put together. You know, surely in error, your error of being old, like your old error. You know. So it's interesting how the translator has that as delusion. Um. So. Hey, wow. It's nice to see Jack here. Thank you for all coming. This is fun. We're having a lot of folks here. And I think it's kind of good because, like, you see a lot of the debates. It's kind of good to look at these texts too and kind of do deep dive analysis. I think that's not something we see a lot in the debate sphere. We see a lot more like we're going to quote this verse, but we don't get to see the whole kind of narrative that's being in place and how I think it's really important to do a kind of a Quranic, biblical, comparative, contrasting analysis and see how things are. Um, like I think it's kind of very interesting that in this narrative, Jacob is considered blind. That when we've read Genesis, Isaac was blind. So I think that is interesting. And there was other times where we see certain things. We're like, oh, that's kind of interesting. Like Miriam, who is the sister of Aaron, is kind of seen as being the mother of Jesus. So I think that's kind of an interesting thing. I don't think we need to derive a conclusion from that, but I just think that that's fascinating. Like that we see certain things like that. Um, I've seen some of the Muslim apologists say, "Well, it's correcting," and I'm like, "Yeah, that does not make any sense. If it's doing a correction, it would have to. The Quran would need to be a lot longer than 114 surahs. It would have to be. It'd have to be like the Talmud, because that's kind of what the Talmud does. It's like an exegesis on the Bible and other things. It has other elements in it too, but it's massive amounts of volumes of stuff. And you have like the Midrash and you have all that kind of stuff. So yes. Okay, what were we saying? All right. But when the bearer of good news arrived, he cast the shirt over Jacob's face, so he regained his sight. Jacob then said to his children, "Did I not tell you that I truly know from Allah what you do not know?" They begged, "Oh, our father, pray for the forgiveness of our sins. We have certainly been sinful." He said, "I will pray to my Lord for your forgiveness. He alone is indeed the all-forgiving, most merciful." When they entered Joseph's presence, he received his parents graciously and said, "Enter Egypt, Allah willing, in security." Hmm. Just want to look at this. This is interesting. So I want to look at this is an exegesis. This is a tafsir. Because this is a. It said his. Did he say parents? Let me look. Yusuf welcomes his parents. That's interesting because that seems a little bit different than what we have seen in the Bible, because I believe Rachel had already passed away. So it's an interesting phrasing there. And said, "Enter Egypt, Allah willing, in security." Then he raised his parents to the throne, and they all fell down in prostration to Joseph. Let's look at what it says here in Arabic. And he raised, it says, abwa, sorry, abwa, abwahi, abawahi. It's a little bit small. It says abawahi, and that says it's his parents. We should probably look at the tafsir on that too. Then he raised his parents to the throne, and they all fell down in prostration to Joseph, who then said, "Oh, my dear father, this is an interpretation of my old dream. My Lord has made it come true. He was truly kind to me when he freed me from prison and brought you all from the desert after Satan had ignited rivalry between me and my siblings. Indeed, my Lord is subtle in fulfilling what he wills. Surely he alone is the all-knowing, all-wise." It's interesting here. It's not mentioning parents here in this narrative. It says parents above, but it's not mentioning Rachel in this kind of exegesis. My Lord, you have surely granted me authority and taught me the interpretation of dreams. O originator of the heavens and the earth, you are my guardian in this world and the hereafter. Allow me to die as one who submits and join me with the righteousness. Uh, um, there's many different translations. So I want to make a little snippet here too. When I hear like, I hate to say this is like another critique on Dawahidis and so-called Muslim apologists, but they're like the Bible is there are so many Bibles, and then they talk about translations, like they talk about the King James translation and the New American translation. Like there's these different types of translations, and um they're like maybe like they'll mention the Septuagint, but they're like the Greek manuscript. They're like, well, look, there are all these translations. It's false. And I'm like, mm, mm, weird, weird, weird. And then I'm like, you do know there's tons of translations of the Quran. Like, there's the Muhammad Assad translation, there's the George Shales translation, the Marmaduke Pickthall translation. They never mention that, though. Um, Yusuf Ali, a lot of people like Yusuf Ali. It's a pretty good translation. You have Sahih International Translation. Let me see. What is the oldest Quranic translation? That's kind of a cool fact to know. Is it George Sales? Not sure. Um, Let me find the oldest and the newest. Hmm. Alexander Ross in 1649. Yeah, you have Marmaduke Pickthall. Let's see. Yeah, George Sales is really old too. It's one of the oldest. It's 1734. It's the Quran with a K, commonly called the El Quran of Muhammad. Yeah, so Alexander Ross did his in 1649. So here's a cool fact. Here's a cool fact. I'm going to stop the screen and I'm going to share this screen so you can see it. Mm. See, the oldest is Alexander Ross is in 1649, and George Sales is in 1734. So that's a long time ago. Yeah, so Keith Ellison, when he swore in, Thomas Jefferson had the George Sale translation. So, I think they made a mistake. Did they? I'm going to make sure we want to have the correct information here. Okay, cool. So the first edition was in 1734. The second edition was in 1764. So that's the one that Thomas Jefferson had when he was a law student. He had the George Sales translation of the Quran. Isn't that cool? That's a cool little fact, right? Let's see. Let me make sure. You need to thump your chest. Oh, that's cute. We can review any debates. Do you want me to review a debate? I would love to review one of those debates. Yeah, that's something that it's an interesting thing. So that's these are interesting things, interesting bookmarks we need to kind of consider when we're doing our full analysis. Yeah, with Benjamin. I actually went so when I went to Jerusalem, I went to her because I've done a lot of volunteer trips. I think it was my second trip I went to her grave. Yes. Yeah, the KJV. I think the KJV is actually a great translation. It's very beautiful writing, but it's very British. But I think we have to look at it through nuance. I think people when they get this extreme, Oh my gosh, there's such a funny video on that. Um, it's like all we love KJV. I don't know if I can show that video. Maybe I can. You wanted me to show that little video? It's so cute. Um, yeah, after we finish this, I'm going to show you that KJV video. Um, yeah, the Marmaduke Pickfall version. Yeah, the Noble Quran might be like this. There's a Saudi translation too. Oh, there's so many translations. That's why I think it's so bizarre when people are critiquing the Bible and they're like, the Bible says, the Bible is corrupt. It's a corrupt, it's there's so many versions, and I'm like, you're talking about translations, and they're like, it's not, it's not standardized, and I'm like, yeah, but I mean, like if you're going to use liberal critique, you can say Ubay bin Ka'b had a codice of 116 surah, and that there were surahs that there were ayah that were missing. Like you can make that argument. I think you should take a charitable, nuanced approach. Don't come with this combative attitude. That's what I don't like about these dais. They're super combative, and they're like what I would call a glass cannon. I don't know if you know things about like if you ever played like video games like Pokemon, they have these Pokemon that are like very powerfully offensive, but like if they get hit, they crumple. You know what I mean? They call it a glass cannon or a paper tiger. You know what I mean? They're not nearly as tough as they think they are. Um, yeah, we could do a debate review. Yeah, it's very beautiful. I also went to the Palestine area too. I went to the Palestine as well. I went to Ramallah, Beit Jala. I went to Hebron. I went to um, Bethlehem. Bethlehem's beautiful. I went to see the church. Um, they had a beautiful Christmas tree there. Actually, Muslims are very open minded in Bethlehem. They're very open with the Christian culture there because, like, as Arab Muslims, they feel very aligned with the Arab Christians. So they're very much into, they're kind of like almost like how Muslims are here with Christians, like very progressive Muslims. They're like, oh, yeah, we're cool with Christmas and stuff. You know what I mean? We do our Eid and you do Christmas, and, we can kind of partake in each other's holidays. That's very like multicultural, but yeah, Bethlehem was very cool about that. Like there was very, the Muslims and Christians got along very well there. Um, yeah, I think in West Bank, I think Muslims and Christians get along very well. I don't know. I think it'd be very hard in Gaza, like under Hamas. Like I don't know how you could, because like Hamas just wants their thing to be in control. Like how could Hamas really respect a Christian? You know what I mean, or another religion? I don't think they can because they think their thing is the best. So like how can you live in a society where you don't treat your neighbors equally? I don't know. I don't think it can work. Um, let's see. The Noble Quran is just a Quran. Hello, Andrew. Uh, yeah, they have le son Quran. That's the French one. I studied French a little bit, so. Oh, I don't even know about how to make mods. I don't think I'm big enough, so you know. I actually agree. You remember I did the. We should look at that debate with me and AP and me. Like, I'm not trying to like go into ego or anything, but I'm like, it might be kind of fun to look at the debates and I can tell you what I felt and what we were doing there. But like Hamas versus Israel, I'm like, obviously Israel outclasses Hamas, and it's very sad when I hear the gaslighting where people are like, oh, Israel does these horrible things, and I'm like, you'd say all countries have their problems, right? But I'm like, Hamas is a government, though. Hamas has claimed to, is supposed to help the people, but like, let's say you're a person of the LGBTQIA community. It's actually stated, like Mohammed Ishtui was a brigadier general, and they found out he was, had relationships with men, and they executed him for it. They said he was doing something else, but because he came from like a high level family, but they executed him for being involved with that. And I think this is why you should never criminalize that, because like you're going to make your society worse, and it's better for people just to be open because you don't want people to get hurt. Like imagine like forcing a guy like that to like marry a woman, and that woman is going to be really hurt. because that, the woman will never feel love, and it's a very painful thing to do to someone. I don't know, it's just not an honorable thing. That's what I feel. So let's see, what does this say? Oh, that holy name, the holy name with a Y. Yeah, Ismailis, Ahmadiyas. Druze is kind of Islamish. Like Baha'i and Druze are Islamish religions. They actually believe in the Prophet of Islam, but they're Islamish. And actually, the Mormons have a venerance of the Prophet of Islam too, because the Mormon prophet Joseph Smith mentioned him. So, if Jesus is a Muslim, then you could say the Prophet of Islam is a Mormon. You can make that same argument; it would work. What is this? Oh well, you're silly. What did you say? Yeah, that it would be so. It would be really, it'd be really hard, Huda. I think it's a very difficult situation, and it's like you just don't want to do that to people. You know what I mean? Like you make an arranged marriage, and you put someone who will never actually love the other person because they don't have that attraction. You just can't force that to happen. You know. And I can understand you could take a religious position and say maybe it's better to be celibate or whatever. I mean, you could encourage that, but like you don't want to force relationships where you're going to cause misery on people. Oh, that's so, look at all this love here. Yusuf L. Smith. Okay. Joseph. Yeah, I get it. Yusuf L. Smith. Joseph Smith. Yeah. He's a Yusuf. Because we're talking about Joseph. That is the stories of the unseen, which we reveal to you, O Prophet. You were not present when they all made up their minds and when they plotted against Joseph. And most people will not believe, no matter how keen you are, even though you are not asking them for a reward for this Qur'an. It is only a reminder to the whole world. So it says, وَمَا تَسْأَلُهُمْ عَلَيْهِ مِنْ أَجْرٍ إِنْ هُوَ إِلَّا ذِكْرٌ لِلْعَالَمِينَ. That's interesting. So it doesn't say Quran. See, that's why we have to look at the Arabic sometimes and look at what they're actually inserting here. It says it's a reminder to the worlds. And it doesn't say the whole world. Adameen is plural, so it's to all these worlds. It's a reminder to all the worlds. There is no Quran mentioned in there. They do put it in parentheses, but the way that they do it is interesting. So the person who's interpreting is saying it means Quran. But that's not what the text says. So that's a very interesting thing. We have to understand what is actually the text saying versus what the interpreter of the text is saying, because we have to look at the arbitration. That is funny. Oh, am I not sharing it? Oh no. Good, I looked back. So sorry. Here we go. Thank you for letting me know. Now I'm sharing. I appreciate that. Thank you. Oh no. Yes, thank you. I am so sorry about that. Yeah, it's interesting. Yes. Oh, sorry. So sorry. Yeah. So, yeah, we had a couple verses. So we looked at that, and we looked at this. We looked at this verse here. Yeah, we looked at this, and here it is. This is what I was talking about, where it says Quran, right? It doesn't say Quran here. That's the interpretation. It says, and not you ask them for it any reward, not it, but a reminder to the worlds. So they're saying the reminder to the worlds is the Quran. But that's their interpretation of what it is. So this is the fascinating thing about when you read the Quran. It's like, what exactly is being communicated? We don't know exactly. So that's why you have this thing called the tafsir here, the exegesis. So, you know, this is the tafsir they're giving. But you see, it's all in parentheses. So yeah, alameen, the way they're interpreting when they're saying the worlds, they're saying men and jinn. They're combining both the jinn and the man. So this is interesting. The stories of the unseen. See, there is no unseen, just what not is not seen by the Prophet of Islam. Okay, the unseen. Yeah, see, this stuff is really interesting when you're actually, because I love comparative religion, and I wish we could see more about that. How do we compare these? What is the differences? What are the similarities? What's going on here? And it doesn't matter how you want to interpret it. It says, how many signs in the heavens and the earth do they pass by with indifference? So I'm going to show you what the word for sign is. It's ayah. So when you hear this word ayah, a surah means like a form. So that's like the chapters of the Quran. And ayah is a sign. So these are the signs that you see. And most of them do not believe in Allah without associating others with him in worship. So now we're kind of out of the story of Joseph. Even though we're still in the chapter, we're not really talking about him. This is more theological things that we're engaging with. Do they feel secure that an overwhelming torment from Allah will not overtake them, or that the hour will not take them by surprise when they least expect it? Say, O Prophet, it doesn't say, O Prophet, that's in parentheses. So it says, say this my way I invite to Allah with insight. Like, basir, what we talked about. I, anna, and whomever follows me, and glory be subhana. Like if you hear subhanallah, that's glory to Allah, glory to God, and not I am of the mushrikeen. Sorry. So the mushrikeen are people who, it's not really polytheist. That's not what a mushrikun means. It means one who associates partners with Allah. A polytheist is a person who worships many gods. So that's not literally what it means, but I guess you could technically associate the terms. But yeah, like kafir and mushrik mean things. Like a kafir means one who covers over the truth. It just doesn't mean someone who is a disbeliever. That's not what a kafir means. It's from the trilateral root kafara, which is to cover over. So yeah, it means someone who basically knows something is true and right, and they're a deceiver, but like let's say they were making money. So like for example, like the idea of what a kafir would be someone who like they're in a big company, right? It's a person who's in a big company and they know that their company is polluting, but they hide the element of the pollution of their company because they're making a lot of money. They know that their company is doing evil and they're polluting the environment, but they cover, or here's another thing, like Catwoman has this exactly, where the antagonist would be like a kafir in a sense, because she knows that her product destroys the women's faces that use the cosmetic product, but she sells it anyway because she's making a lot of money, you know? So she hides the truth because there's a gain in profit. So that's really what a kafir is. It's just not someone who disbelieves. It's not like someone who's like, hey, I just don't believe what you're saying. It's someone who like knows something's right and then tries to cover over what is right. So like it's so weird when I hear people use these terms because they actually mean something. They have deeper depths of understanding. So that's the same thing with like a mushrik. You'll hear Jake Brekatella say that, it's hard for the mushrikun. Like he likes to say that over and over again. Like a Christian is actually a mushrik. Not even according to the Quran, they're not mushrik, right? They're a Nasara, so that doesn't even make sense. They're Ahlul Kitab. A Christian is Ahlul Kitab. They're not mushrikun. You know what I mean? So like, I don't even get that. It makes no sense, but whatever. He might say, well, because you believe in the Trinity. I'm like, but that is what Christians believe in. Like, majority of Christians throughout all time believed in the Trinity. So like, that's not Yeah, you have some Christians who might be called, Unitarian or whatever, like Jehovah's Witness, but some people say, well, that's not Christian, whatever. Like, that's a debate you can have. But I'm like, majority of Christians believe in the Trinity. It's like saying, Jews don't believe in Israel. Majority of Jews believe in Israel. You might have progressive liberal Jews, but like 90% of Jews support Israel in a sense. They believe that Israel has a right to exist. So you can't be like, well, I love Jews, but I hate Israel. And I'm like, yeah, if you take that position, majority of Jews support Israel. That's just the standard. Like, so you do have to take an intense position. So of trying to disassociating the two. We only sent before you, O prophet, before you, men inspired by us from among the people of each society. Have the deniers not traveled through the land to see what was the end of those before them? And surely the home of the hereafter is far better for those mindful. Will you not then understand? I'm cutting out all of the inserts because it makes it different every time you put the inserts in. You can see that this is what the author is pushing. For example, I'm going to give you an example of this. Surah Al-Fatiha. Surah Al-Fatiha. There's a lot here. Surah Al-Fatiha. It says, let's see. Alladhina, let me see. اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب. There, here we go. غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. So basically, the end of the Fatiha says, show us, God, the straight path, the path of those who have not earned thy anger, and have not earned thy anger and went astray. Bless us and not, put us on the path of those who have earned thy anger and went astray, right? That's what the ending is. In the insertion, they're saying the people who earned the anger are Jews, because, like, this is something we've got to counter, is anti-Semitism in the Muslim community. It's got to go. This anti-Semitism is crazy. It is out the wazoo. I'm sure you've seen it. Every Muslim debate I'm sure you've seen, tell me, we have to actually do that. We have to put the anti-Semitic counter in the Muslim debates. Israel's going to be brought up, and Jews are going to be brought up. Like, even Hassan Shibli, like, it has nothing to do with Jews, nothing to do with Israel. Hassan Shibli, like, the guy gives a critique about Islam. He's a Christian man, and he says, well, I have all of these issues. What do you think about this? And then Hassan Shibli, instead of having humility and accountability, goes and says, well, because he talks like this. Well, this is Sheldon Adelson. Sheldon Adelson spent millions of dollars trying to attack Islam. And I'm like, you do know that Jews don't care about Islam. I'm like, Snapshot, they don't care. They don't care about Islam. They have a problem. There is a conflict between Jews and Arabs in the Middle East. It happens to be that Arabs are Muslim. The conflict comes from that. It is not because they actually care about Islam. Sheldon Adelson and most Jews do not care about Islam. I'm just letting you know. They are apathetic to Islam. The reason they have any interest in Islam is because there was a tension between Jews and Arabs. And the Arabs who are Muslim, there's conflict with that. The Jews do not have conflict with the Arab Christians in this way, because they have the same kind of standard. It's just that the Arab Christians believe in Jesus, and the Jewish non-believers in Jesus do not. So, that's an interesting point. But it's just so funny. I mean, these people know nothing about Jews, and it's super weird. Okay, I tell my brother I have a problem with telling him that I have to read a tafsir, because it seems to try to clean up the Quran, what the Quran is actually saying. Well, it's more like clarification. So that's why the tafsir is there. Because when you read the Quran, it's like when you read William Faulkner and you read Shakespeare, it's very, very, it has this poetic language. And when you're reading poetry, you don't know exactly what it means. So it's very hard to have the Quran be a law book when it's a spiritual, poetic text. Because you can't really, like, when you have legalistic treatises, it's very clearly defined. You have things like malice aforethought. Like, people plan to if you plan to hurt someone, you can get tried with a higher crime. It's more similar to reading, like, what you would call usul fiqh, when you're reading like these jurisprudential texts, the fiqh texts, right? That's where you kind of find that. It's very similar to like, like what you find in the Talmud. That's a jurisprudential text, so it's a lot different. Um, so, Mos tribe, yeah, there was. It is an interesting thing because like think about Abdullah. Was Abdullah the father of the Prophet of Islam a believer in Allah, or is the Allah that is Abdullah in that name, was he actually a worshiper of an Allah who is more from this kind of multivariate multi deity space? Who it can be kind of it, because I think a lot of Muslims just assume when they hear Abdullah, it just means that Abdullah it's the same Allah. But that's the thing, because it's like a retcon. You're kind of retconning the indigenous Arab culture. I don't call it pagan, I call it indigenous. That's my lefty liberal progressive leanings, but JK. But the indigenous cultures, it's the indigenous Arab culture. So, okay, what was this here? They call us kafir, even though, yeah, which is ridiculous. I don't understand what that means. Are Christians Ahlul Kitab or not? You have to take a stance on that. You don't get to define what the Christian is. Yeah, they use the name Allah there too. And the Kaaba was a holy sanctuary for the indigenous Arabians, and so was the Black Stone. Notice that there are no people of the Zabur. Yeah, because the Zabur are the Psalms. Yeah. Liberal Jews equals Jewish. Okay. Interesting. Well, thank you, Ronta. I appreciate that. Let's see. What else do we have here? What do they care about most? Jews care. What do Jews care about most? Well, Jews care about living in this moment now. They believe in concepts like tikkun olam, like rebuilding the world. They're not. It's very much about being here now. There's a thing called olam haba, the world to come. It's not really heaven. It's not hell. People use this conventional language, but it's different. I think Jews, Christians, and Muslims have very different concepts of afterlife after really doing a deep dive into that. Because like it even depends even within the groups. Like if you're a Muslim, some Muslims believe in like a literal paradise, like with the Hori and Wildan, which are the virginal maidens and the serving boys. I don't know. That's like not of interest to me at all. I have no interest in those things. You know what I mean? It's so weird. I mean, I can have a bunch of stuff now. Like, why would I want that? Just having a bunch of stuff when I die? I don't know. So some people have a very materialistic view. I would say Jews take a very spiritualistic view. It's not that we're reincarnated as humans. It's more like we're spirit beings. And I would say certain Christians take that view too. That the idea is, and I would say that it lends to it because Jesus is a Jewish teacher. And he teaches, like he gets questioned. When we read the gospel, we can look into that. But he gets questioned by the Sadducees, and to teach y'all about what the Sadducees are, because a lot of Christians don't really understand the difference between Pharisees and Sadducees. Pharisees were what the rabbinic Jews are now, are a derivative of the Pharisees. It is Pharisaic Judaism. Rabbinic Judaism is Pharisaic Judaism, just to let you all know. That's what it is. It's very much focused on like teachers, and it's not really necessarily into, like the prophetic ruling. It's more about what do the scholars say? And it's very much, Rabbinic Judaism is identical to Sunni Islam. And Sunni Muslims don't even know this. They don't know. Sunni Muslims do not know that Rabbinic Judaism is identical to what they're doing. It's very much scholarly based. What do the scholars decide? You have a collective of scholars who make decisions, that kind of stuff. What else was I saying? The Rabbinic Jews. It's a very, and then the Sadducees, that's what I'm talking about. The Sadducees are the priests of Israel. So these are the people who have like the divine noble lineage. These are the people who have the lineage to the Levites, the Kohanim. they have this unbroken lineage where it's like you can't marry a divorced person. There's a whole lot of rules of how to be a Cohen, right? Um, or a Levite, to be a priest or a Cohen. The rabbinic Jews don't really have that same integrity, but some rabbinic Jews want to claim that, and that's fine. It's cool. You can claim whatever you want. It's just the Sadducees, that was their deal. It's like, we are from this noble lineage. We are in control of the temple. We have the control of the temple. We are chosen to do this temple work because we are from the chosen bloodline, right? It's like being from the Belmont clan, you know? They are born for a duty to be the priests, like Brahmins in India, right? But the Sadducees did not believe in an afterlife. They were like, you know, yeah, the Torah does not explicitly say this, so we don't believe in this. We don't believe in oral law. We don't believe in Mishnah. We're not into any of that stuff. So they were actually very brilliant. It's actually a brilliant question, and I think people should look at this. The story in the New Testament is amazing. The Gospel is an amazing text, especially if you want to know about Judaism, because a lot of people who are Christian are not Jews, so they don't necessarily have that connection to Judaism. But you should get it. It is a great text for Jewish history. It teaches you a lot about, like, if you know Jewish stuff, the Gospel it's a much more rich text when you actually know Jewish stuff, because in the text, the Sadducees do this amazing test. They do this thing. They're like, oh, yeah? And it's actually a question I would probably ask, too. They asked a question to Jesus, and they're like, oh, you believe in the afterlife, huh? Okay, let me test you with this. Here's this woman. She has 7 husbands. She marries this dude. The guy dies. She marries another guy, another brother. He dies. So she gets through 7 brothers. They all die. Which one does she end up with in the heaven? You know, which brother is it? Because there's an eternal afterlife of wonderful things. Which one is it? So I'm like, these guys are smart. They're not dummies. They're a lot smarter than people now, honestly speaking. I wish people had wit like that. They were brilliant. And then he basically counters, and he's like, yeah, that's not what the afterlife is. It's not this kind of thing where it's just a materialistic reincarnation. He takes a very different approach to it. So he kind of counters that. So it's actually really, really fun. The Jewish dialogues are amazing, you know, and you can tell it's very Jewish. That is a Jewish thing where Jewish people are battling, you know. Jews are starting to care post October 7th. Yeah, I actually went to Israel 3 times. I went before October 7th. I went after October 7th the next year, and then I went the year right after that. So I kind of saw what it looked like before and after October 7th. So I actually went when they had missiles coming from Gaza over. I saw Gaza before October 7th. Hadith. Yeah, Joshua Little's really amazing. The high priest. Yeah, it is. It is it's a very interesting situation. And I think the Sadducees denied. Yeah, they didn't believe in afterlife. They didn't believe in resurrections or afterlife. They're like, we live this life, and when this life is over, we're done. I would say like a lot of secular humanists and atheists would take the same kind of position, you know. So it's kind of a pretty amazing position to take, to say, you know what, when I die, this is it. I got one round, and I'm done. Let's see, what else is there? Yeah, I mean, Christianity is, it's a secret. This is like an open secret. I mean, it is Judaism. Like, Jesus is Jewish, and he taught Judaism, so Christianity would be Judaism. It can't really be different, you know? It has to be the same teaching, you know? It just depends on where the teaching goes, you know? So, it's not really, it can't be really separate. Jesus didn't say he's teaching anything different, you know? Really, Christianity, the name Christian is a descriptive term, as opposed to the term of the religion. It's the term of saying, I'm following Jesus. That's what Christian means. Like, I'm following Jesus. Some people would say, well, what is called Christianity? You can call it the way or living water. You could use terms like that as well. So, yeah, it's a very descriptive term. Yeah, it's an interesting thing. I know it's hard. It's very hard to take a position where you're like, because we're so used to believing in afterlife, you know, it's very hard to kind of imagine how someone can just say, yeah, this is it. one and only rodeo. It's a tough thing. It can be a very tough thing to hear. So let's finish this. And then the messengers despaired, and their people thought the messengers had been denied help. Our help came to them at last. We then saved whoever we willed, and our punishment is never averted from the wicked people. In their stories, there is truly a lesson for people of reason. This message cannot be a fabrication, rather, a confirmation of previous revelation, a detailed explanation of all things, a guide and a mercy for people of faith. And I'll read it in Arabic. It says, لَقَدْ كَانَ فِي قَصَاصِهِمْ إبرة إبرة li أولي الألباب ما كان حديثا. See, we know this word hadith here. Hadith, narration or story. يفترى ولكن تصديق الذي بين يديه وتفصيل كل شيء وهدى ورحمة لقوم يؤمنون. So that's it. And then how Muslims will end, they'll say, Ameen, Ya Rabbal Alameen, Sadaqallahul Adim. So they will say that. So we have finished, and we're done with that. We finally did it. Woo! We made it. Now we're going to talk about the comparison, and then we're going to talk about what we're going to do next. We can do a debate. We can, because that's kind of fun for me not to have to read all the time. It takes a lot of work to do it. I gotta want to watch a movie. And if people want to watch a movie with me too, I can always share the StreamYard link. If anybody wants to come up and talk about it, we can do that too, because that's kind of fun also. We're going to talk about the comparison first. So, let's see. I think we have an analysis here. Give me a second. I'm going to put it up, and we can go through that analysis. Or I can just read what we have here. I'll put a poll. That's how we can do it. Here we go. Surah Yusuf, which is the chapter 12 of the Quran, and the Joseph narrative from 37 to 50 describe the same basic story. He's betrayed by the brothers, taken to Egypt, tested through suffering, and elevated to political authority, and ultimately reunited a family. However, each account emphasizes different details and theological lessons. So in Surah Yusuf, he sees 11 stars, the sun, the moon bowing to him. Jacob warns him not to tell his brothers. So Joseph has two dreams. The sheaves bow to his sheaf, followed by the sun and the moon and the 11 stars bowing. So the 11 stars is the same, but the sheaves are not there. Why the brothers are jealous? They believe Joseph and his brother are more beloved by the father. That's in Surah Yusuf. In Genesis, Jacob openly favors Joseph and gives him a special robe, often translated as a coat of many colors. So that's not in the Surah Yusuf, right? The brothers plot. They place Joseph in a well so that travelers will find him. They bring his shirt stained with the false blood of Joseph. And then you see the wolf, too. The wolf. I actually like dogs a lot. I'm a big dog person. So I like wolves and foxes. I like all those kind of canine creatures. I'm a big fan of canine creatures. They're so cute. I would actually love to what do they call it? Adopt a police dog. like a retired police dog. And I'm like, look, I'm living with a retired police officer here. Those dogs when you go to the train station and they're labs or golden retrievers and they're so cute and they're just like so well behaved and they sleep on the floor. Oh man, they're so heartwarming. They're such lovely creatures. And I was like, oh, I want to pet you, but you know, I can't because you're on duty. You're a police officer on duty, so I can't. You're a police officer on duty, so I'm sure you all feel the same way when you see that cute dog in the police station. I'm like, I don't use any substances, so I don't have any problems with that. No, it's like a police. The police dog. The police dog retires, so when they get old, they kind of need to find a home. Unfortunately they used to like take their life, which is kind of a very terrible thing after they do all that service. Yeah, I love police dogs. I like all those kind of like really trained well ones. Like the service ones. They're so sweet. Yeah, I love the animal videos too. So, they believe Joseph and his brothers are more beloved by their father. Jacob openly favors Joseph. Yes. They place Joseph in a well so that travelers will find him. They bring back his shirt stained with false blood to Jacob. They initially plan to kill him, but Reuben intervenes. Joseph is put in a pit and later sold. The brothers dip his robe in goat's blood. So it's kind of similar. A traveling caravan discovers Joseph and sells him in Egypt for a small price. Joseph is sold to an Ishmaelite or a Midianite traders for 20 pieces of silver. The Egyptian official is called Al-Aziz, a title meaning powerful or honored official. He is identified as Potiphar, captain of the Pharaoh's guard. The attempted seduction. So the seduction is a lot more in the Surah Yusuf than it is in the Bible. The official's wife attempts to seduce Joseph. He seeks refuge in God and tries to escape. His shirt is turned from behind, helping prove his innocence. Potiphar's wife repeatedly propositions Joseph. He refuses because it would betray his master and be a sin against God. She grabs his garment, which he leaves behind. Other Egyptian women. The wife invites women who had criticized her. When they see Joseph's beauty, they accidentally cut their hands. This is not in the Bible. This is something that's very different. And see, you wouldn't know this if you don't read both of them back to back, but you can see it here. Joseph is imprisoned despite signs of his innocence. He preaches belief in God to his fellow prisoners before interpreting their dreams. Joseph is imprisoned after Potiphar's wife falsely accuses him. His religious teaching to the prisoners is not included. Prisoners' dreams. Two young men dream about serving wine and carrying bread. Joseph interprets one as being restored, the other is executed. The cupbearer and baker have essentially the same dreams. It's the same thing. When we read that, it's literally identical. So the dreams are the same. The ruler's dream. The king sees 7 fat cows, buys 7 thin cows, 7 green ears of grain alongside 7 dry ones. Pharaoh has 2 related dreams. It's the same thing. Joseph's release. He initially refuses to leave prison until the accusations against him are investigated. The woman acknowledges innocence. The official's wife confesses. Pharaoh summons Joseph after hearing his ability to interpret dreams. No formal investigation clearing his name is described. So that's a very different. This kind of episode that exists within the Quran does not exist in the Bible at all. Joseph asks to be placed over the storehouses because he is knowledgeable and trustworthy. Pharaoh appoints Joseph after recognizing God's spirit and wisdom. So that's the same. The brothers come to Egypt for provisions. This is both the same. Joseph accuses them of being spies and demands that Benjamin be brought. That's a more added point that's not in... both of them have the bring the younger brother, but the spies is not mentioned. Joseph secretly tells his brother who he is. A drinking cup is placed in Benjamin's bag so that Joseph can keep him in Egypt. Joseph's silver cup is placed in Benjamin's sack. Judah offers himself in Benjamin's place. Joseph reveals himself after his brothers acknowledge their wrongdoing and helplessness. Joseph reveals himself after Judah's emotional plea. Joseph declares there will be no blame on his brothers. Joseph comforts his brothers, so that's the same. Jacob's eyes become white from grief, suggesting blindness or severe loss of sight. Joseph's shirt is put on his face, restoring his sight. Jacob mourns deeply, but he does not become blind. See, I'm like, I know that this is different. And that's the thing, I brought that up. Isaac is blind. Jacob is not blind in the Bible. So that's an interesting thing to point out. And Joseph's robe does not restore his sight. Let me make sure everybody's here. The Aziz. Oh, yeah, thank you. Speaking of donkeys, my sweet girl is kind of sick. I would love if y'all could pray for her. We can probably take up a collection for you too. We don't mind. We can send you some money. I'm sure we can make sure that we want you to get your dog to the vet. We can definitely do that. Put a few, we can put like, if you have a Cash App or a Venmo, you can put it in the Discord and we'll send you some money to help you. The white from grief can, that's interesting. So I think we can do that. Just put it in the Discord and we'll make sure that we can get you some money to help pay for your dog. Yeah, of course. Why wouldn't we want to help you? We're a community. Of course we're going to help. Yeah, and if even if you put it here, I can put it here. If you feel comfortable, I can put your Venmo or Cash App or whatever. You just tell me what you want to do, and that's fine. We'll send you some and help you. Let's see. Joseph's parents and brothers bow before him, fulfilling his childhood vision. The family's dependence upon Joseph fulfills the meaning of his dreams, although the ending does not repeat the exact image in the same way. So there is the differences. So they both have the special relationship with the father, jealousy, betrayal, removal from Canaan, the refusal of sexual temptation, unjust imprisonment, God-given ability to interpret dreams, 7 years of abundance, 7 years of famine, rise from prisoner to powerful administrator, testing of brothers, reconciliation of family, and God's ability. So that's what we see as the same, right? Let's see. Yeah, whatever you're comfortable with. The Quran is more concentrated in spiritual unification, being spiritually unified. Nearly the entire story appears in one chapter and is introduced as the best of stories. Yet it is a very unified thing. It's very different than the rest of the Quran. When we look at the Quran more, you're going to see that there's more differences when it comes to this particular. You'll see one story appear and then another thing happens. That's very much how the Quran goes. Like, you'll have a story about Moses and then you'll go into the story about the 7 sleepers, and you kind of have that kind of engagement. That's usually how the Quran is. So this is quite unique for the Quran. Let's see. Okay. So forgiveness. Joseph is portrayed as a prophet who teaches monotheism while imprisoned. Okay, Genesis provides a longer family history with more genealogical, political, and economic detail. Joseph's story is connected to the development of Israel's 12 tribes and explains how Jacob's family came to live in Egypt. Genesis also devotes considerable attention to the moral transformation of Joseph's brothers, especially Judah. Several recognizable details appear only in one version. Genesis includes Joseph's special robe, Reuben's intervention, Judah's offer to replace Benjamin, Joseph's Egyptian wife Asenath, that's correct, we didn't mention that, and his sons Manasseh and Ephraim. Surah Yusuf includes the women cutting their hands, the evidence of a torn shirt, Joseph's insistence on publicly establishing his innocence, his monotheistic sermon in prison, and the restoration of Jacob's sight through Joseph's shirt. So those are the differences and the similarities. Let's see. Okay. Different theological emphasis. In Genesis, Joseph summarized the meaning of his suffering by telling his brothers, "You intended evil against me, but God intended it for good." This expresses divine providence. God works through human wrongdoing to preserve Jacob's family and many other lives. Surah Yusuf expresses a closely related story. Indeed, whoever is mindful of God and remains patient, then surely God does not allow the reward of those who do good to be lost. The Quran emphasizes God consciousness, patience, Joseph's prophetic righteousness. Genesis emphasizes covenantal history. Ultimately, the two accounts share the same moral arc. Betrayal does not defeat Joseph, power does not corrupt him, and the suffering and the path of which God brings reconciliation and preservation. The Quran presents the story primarily as a complete prophetic and moral lesson, while Genesis presents it as a personal story of providence and a foundational chapter of the history of Israel. So that's what I think is super important. And let's see. We're going to close that. Yep, cool. Now let's see. Do we have? Let's see. Yeah. Put that up. Put that up. I'll share it right now. Yeah, you either put it in the Discord or share it here. I'm gonna do it. Yeah, we're gonna do that. You can put it in both places. We're gonna make sure that you get money to help take care of your dog. That's why we're here. We're here to help each other. What else is there? Oh, we need to make our poll. We haven't done our poll of what we're doing next. And remember, this is our Discord. So please join the Discord. And where is the poll? Let me find that. Where is our poll? Here it is. Okay. Make sure to put what we're doing, because this is serious. And once I get the ruling for this, we only have a few people here, but whoever's here gets to vote. Please vote. This is probably our longest stream ever. I don't usually stream this long, because I think we're doing other things too. This is kind of the reason why we read the Surah, is because we want to compare it with the Bible. So, is anybody voting? I don't see any votes. Oh, we got debate. Oh, it should be in the YouTube. Can you see the debate in the YouTube? It should allow you to do that. I think you have to press 1 or 2 in the chat. That's what you do. I think you write 1 or 2 in the chat, and that's how you can vote. Sorry. Yes, Randy is correct. You type 1 or 2 in the chat of which one you want. So 1 for movie, 2 for debate. Okay. That'll be fun. And then we're going to decide on what debate we're doing. Okay, cool. Let's see. Whatever you decide is what we're going to do. We've got 2 votes for debate. We still have 4 viewers. We need some more. Anybody else going to vote? Any more votes? Well, it looks like we're going to be doing a debate, because I need to go to the next thing of what we're going to be voting on. Okay. So I'm going to close this, and you just put the link in the chat. Put your Cash App link in the chat, and I'm going to share it. You can just make the comment. If you post a comment, we'll know what it is, and we can send from there. Now I'm going to stop this poll. Yeah, the majority says this, so we're going for debate. We're stopping the poll. Yeah, post the hyperlink, and then we'll share it. We can all pitch in somewhat. Too bad we don't have more people here. It would be better. Oh, we're gonna have it in Discord too, so the folks who aren't here can come to Discord too. What am I sharing? Oh yeah, the next we're doing another poll. Where is it? I don't see it. Do you all see it? I don't see the link in the chat. Yeah, I don't think any of us see it. Randy doesn't see it, and Wonder doesn't see it. Yeah, and neither does Ranta. No one sees it. Really? You can't put like your name and like where you're at. Like I think we can look it up that way too. That's super weird. And if you can't, you can send it to me, and I can put it in the information of the video too after it's over. Now, what is the thing I'm looking for? It's the poll. I'm so tired. I had a huge like retreat today for my fraternity. It was exhausting because I'm on the executive board. So like we're looking into expansion, and it's just so much work. Okay, put it in Discord. I'm gonna probably post it on my comment page or like in the description of this video. Yeah, well, I'm a graduate. I've been in this fraternity for 6 years. Well, it's almost like 8 years really, because I started off as like the first level, like they call it a squire. So I did that for 2 years. So I've been involved for almost a decade with this organization. So, um, no, but this is like the national board. This is not like these are all people who are like adults. They're all adulting. But usually when you're in a fraternity, you're in it for life. So, we'll do several of these. All right, here's our new debate. I mean, our new question. So 1, 2, or 3. We can do one of my debates, or we can do a new debate. Okay, share it on Discord. A bearded baby student. No, I've done quite a few programs, and I've worked too. I've done the work life and school life at the same time. So let's see. Go to Discord. Let me see if I can see it. Okay. We're going to see if I can share it. Maybe I can share it. Let's see if they will stop me from sharing it. Can you see it? Can you see this? Great. No, I could definitely do one of those, but you know, but if put one, two, or three, I can definitely. We can even go later into like one of those other debates too. Because I could talk. I can give you my own personal understanding of the debates. Um, I really liked. I liked the last two debates I did, Israel versus Hamas and abrogation versus affirmation, because like I really worked hard and I really, I worked with my buddies, my good brothers. So I think we worked really good as a team. So you know, okay. Make sure to put one, two, or three in the chat so I can I can know because um, I think you can only vote once. So we need a tiebreaker at least. Let's see. A cash app. I'm gonna do it from my phone. I'm gonna send some money right now. Can you receive payments? I'm trying to send the payment. It says you can't receive the payment. Okay, cool. My Israel versus Hamas debate looks like it's winning. Make sure that you can receive our payments too, because I'm trying to send right now. Yeah, it says this person can't accept payments right now. Hmm. Yeah, just make sure that we can get access to that. I'm trying again. Let's see. Wow, weird. I'm gonna try one more time because that is weird. Let's see, maybe I have to use a different payment. Yeah, try to adapt that because I tried different cards and it's not working for me. Okay, so we have a winner. The winner is my debate of Israel versus Hamas. So tell us, Sarah, if it's up now that we can do it, because it is weird. It's not working too well. Let's make sure that we can pay, because I was having a problem. Okay. We'll try to troubleshoot that. We have it here. Yeah, you're going to have a good time with this because you're going to learn about my perspective of what happened during the debate. It was I could tell you about the background scenes. I could tell you about everything about it because it was super fun. All right. I think we are going to end. I'm going to put your Cash App in my profile in my bio so we can make sure to take care of that. Yeah, let us know. We're going to take care of you. We take care of our people here. See the next one. And also, I want to know if any of you ever want to come up to stream with me, you can. You don't have to have your camera on or anything, but if you like to talk on stream, you can have an anonymous name or whatever. So it might be fun to talk with you all if you're interested in coming up. Oh, I have something fun to tell you. I went on Cora's stream the other day. It was about Palestine and Israel and Islam. It was very funny. I kind of ended up being on the channel, and I was like, "Oh, this is interesting." I didn't come up to speak, but I was on the TikTok listening in behind, and I was like, "Oh, this is very different than the way I think," but I'm like, very interesting. So that was a funny thing. All right, we are gonna go. Make sure to take care of Sarah once everything gets set up. I know it's a little bit difficult, but we'll get things working. And yeah, we've had a whole hour together, an hour and almost 20 minutes. So we had a lot of fun, and we're going to go now.